Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Now, this is my second channel. If you don't know, I'm just uploading reviews on the second channel as a way of getting out more videos that I've wanted to make on my main channel, and they just don't really fit. I just have too many uploads going up on my main channel all the time, and I'm trying to shorten it down, get some reviews on this channel and some on my main channel for those who want to subscribe to both. So that's just my little spiel about my different channels. And I will be reviewing all the original Star Trek movies. I don't know if I want to. I'm debating on going through all the Star Trek movies. That includes the Next Generation movies. That includes the J.J. Abrams trilogy, and all the original movies, of course. I don't know if that's what I want to do yet. I'm also debating doing that and going through all of the Star Trek The Next Generation, all of Star Trek the original series, and all that. I don't know if that's what I want to do, but I do want to talk about all the original movies because I've recently become a big fan of these movies. And here's the thing. I think it was about when I was about 13, 14. I never really watched Star Trek. I had a grandfather who was really into it. I got into Star Trek through watching the original series on Netflix. I started the original series, and it didn't grab me. The original series was just kind of a little too 60s and dated for my thing. No, I don't have a problem with 60s shows. I actually was a big fan of The Munsters because it was on Netflix. Some of these older TV shows can actually be fun. And I do have a huge love for Star Trek, the original series and that original cast now. But back then, when you're just like a 13-year-old trying to get in this franchise, you really don't get anything out of it. So I watched, and then I went to Next Generation, and I was a much bigger fan of that. That's an easier show to get into. I mean, it's more up to date. The characters and the writing were a lot stronger. I know the first couple of seasons were weak, but by season 3 and onward, the show just got really good, and it found its footing. And some of those episodes were just damn amazing. And it's not to say the original series didn't have that either, but it's just like so far removed from what I was. So, but I've been a Star Trek fan for years. Since I was about 14 years old, basically. If you ask me what my favorite Star Trek thing was, it was Next Generation. Didn't really ever watch any of the movies. And then one Christmas, they had the 4-movie 4K set, and I won that for Christmas. And I did watch Wrath of Khan on Hulu before this, so I'd seen this movie before. And I got that set, and I watched through all the movies. And I just realized, man, these movies are excellent, excellent movies. But really, it starts here. So the backstory of this movie is that basically in the 60s they made Star Trek the original series. The show ended, not too much fanfare. It actually had pretty low ratings for its finale. But they ran the show through syndication because it was an expensive show and they wanted to at least make some profit back. And also, this was when television was new, so there wasn't a lot of like productions and things. People were still testing out the market, so whatever you had, you were just going to keep rerunning and see where that went from there. And Star Trek became really popular on the ratings and on TV, so they started making merchandise. Merchandise sold really well, and so they made the first Star Trek movie. Now, the first Star Trek movie is very slowly paced, and it's a good movie. It's actually an excellent movie in its own right. It's very close to Gene Roddenberry's original vision with Star Trek, but I feel like this is the better movie just for what it is. We'll get to why that is, but Star Trek the original series has terrible pacing. It's a very boring movie if you think about it. And that's not to say like I don't like it. I actually really do love that movie. It's a great movie. But when you get to when it gets to coming out and the box office isn't great, it isn't hard to see why. No one's gonna go watch this movie a second time word of mouth isn't going to be good, but the Trekkies are still going to be there because this is the it's kind of like the fans Force Awakens basically. Um, Not quite as big, but you know what I mean. Like there hadn't been Star Trek in years. This was their big comeback. So if you're a big fan, you're gonna go. So it still made decent money. Paramount though wanted one more go at it, and so they had a really good producer and team come together with this one, and they wanted someone who really understood the franchise. So they were, so you know, they decided to take a script that continued off of a series, an episode of the original series called Bad Seed, where ends up removed on this planet, and now he wants revenge and wants to kill Kirk. That's what this movie is about. And Khan is an excellent villain. In that original episode, it was amazing acting on the actor's part. I always forget how to say his name, otherwise I'd say his name, but he is so excellent that 15 years later they said, come back, do this role. And he did it so well. And this is a one time character that they brought back a second time, and he was just phenomenal in this role. This movie is a lot better paced, and that's what makes this a better movie. And also, the emotions are just higher, and you really feel a lot throughout this movie because this movie is about Captain Kirk, a character who is dealing with the getting older. It's his birthday at the beginning of the movie. There's lots of themes about getting older and what that means, dealing with responsibilities. He has a literal enemy from his past coming to kill him. Literally, his past is literally haunting him in more than one way, literally and metaphorically. His lover, he has some reconciliation. He has to reconcile with his lover. His son, these familiar relationships, friendships, and he has to deal with loss. And that's something beautiful. It makes it a movie that the older I get, the more I resonate with it. Probably when I was about 16 and watched this movie for the first time, probably didn't resonate with that very well. But now that I'm older and can really appreciate it, it just makes me cry because, you see him make these mistakes throughout this movie and have to come to grapple with things. And that's a really beautiful story. And Spock's death is very emotional and heartbreaking. And just the way that's dealt with and all that. It's just a beautiful story. James Horner's score is once again amazing in Star Trek. Star Trek: The Motion Picture was amazing, but it's here. It's also amazing. The costume design in this movie is absolutely gorgeous. The effects are gorgeous. The dialogue is amazing and so quotable. The characters are all amazing. It's just a lot. The cinematography, I think, is really beautiful. And this is just a great movie. And it's kind of crazy that this movie is as beautiful as it is because Star Trek: The Motion Picture was an expensive movie. And they made this for a little bit lower budget. And so, the fact that it's as pretty as it is, I think, is really awesome. And this is just a beautiful movie with a beautiful story that has a lot that I think will resonate for many, many years beyond this film. It has. I mean, this is a 40-year-old movie now. It is Star Trek Day. I watched this in a theater full of Trekkies. We're all quoting the movie. They all cried and laughed at all the appropriate parts in the movie. It's just an incredible film. And this is the one film that I see people who hate Star Trek tell me they love this movie. It's just an awesome movie in its own right. It is just wonderful. It just, there's no other way to describe a film like this. It's just awesome. And the journeys that you go on with the original cast through these movies actually is very emotional, and I think that really starts here. And I think that's one thing that these films needed to do is they needed you to make you feel like you're going on a journey with these characters. It's kind of like Empire to A New Hope. Sure, it's a fun adventure and you do your little thing, but by the second one, you feel like you've actually gone through a journey with the characters. They actually go through struggles and bad things happen to them and they make mistakes. Like Luke makes a mistake that cost him an arm in Empire Strikes Back. In this movie, Kirk single-handedly nearly causes the death of several men. Then he has to grapple with that, and things like that. It's a beautiful story that is so immaculately well told. It's just perfect. And I was blubbering when Spock died. It's I've never actually watched this in a theater, and just seeing that on the biggest screen possible, tears. Just great.